The detective work, I mentioned it's a lot harder work. Just a couple examples of some things that our police folks did. There was a bank robbery ring going on. I don't have the details all right, and I don't know if Chief's here, but you can get this information. There was a bank robbery ring going on, and there was, I think, a robbery here in Tualatin, and we had a detective that spent, a Tualatin policeman who spent just a tremendous amount of time going through all the tapes from the banks, running all the license plates that they could find parked in the area that day, et cetera, et cetera. Study. They isolated it to an individual who actually lives here in town as a prime suspect. And as bad guys do it once, do it twice, do it three times, let's do it a fourth time. Did it the fourth time, they're waiting for him, and they got him. And I think it was a bank in Sherwood. But again, it was planning, it was hard work, it was detective work, and then the yo-yo came right into the trap. But it took a lot of work to set that up. Similar on some sexual assault work that they did with DNA matching. There's just incredible police work, as well as a breaking of fraudulent prescription ring that's been going on. Again, that takes a lot more time than just stopping somebody going 45 into 35. But the results are stupendous. Another part of our public safety endeavor over the last couple of years has been a community services officer. And so we've really never had a code enforcement officer per se. It's sort of been on a complaint basis, but as communities age, as they become more dense, and as more issues arise. And so we had issues of neighborhoods that were having some debris, and there were a lot of parking issues, and a lot of concerns. So Crystal Reynolds has just done an outstanding job. She spends about a fourth of her time doing code enforcement, and 3/4 of her time actually doing low-level police work. So it isn't just all money spent on somebody that's going to come and tell you you got your car parked too long on your street or parked the wrong direction. But it's been so well received because what she, I guess I don't have a slide, what she has done is, of all of the 1,000 calls she had last year, there was something like a dozen citations issued. She works with people, and people given the right prodding and to let them know that, hey, your neighbors don't appreciate that, and most people will come around. Another achievement that is really, I think, amazing is the graffiti abatement. And that's something that in some communities just goes on. It's just a fact of life, like weeds growing, and people just live with it. Well, in Tualatin, it doesn't work. And so 2 or 3 years ago, with the help of the chamber and the business communities and a lot of neighbors, we got on a very aggressive graffiti removal process. And if we can just take it out faster than they can put it up, but if we actually manifested an abatement process out of that, and the incidents are down more than a half from last year. Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue, so I get to be the mayor, so today I get to have my own fire department. You think, well, the cities have fire departments. Well, we have Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue, which is Tualatin's fire department. They happen to be, I think, occasionally a department for a few other cities too, but as far as we're concerned, they're Tualatin's fire department. And so they cover Beaverton, Durham, and some others, but the namesake is there, and the station is there. And the way that the firefighters have integrated themselves into our community and become part of the community in festivals and kid events and so on typifies they really are our fire department. But we get to leverage that because they're the hazardous material team. I think there's maybe 8 or 9 statewide, and one of them is in Tualatin with TVF&R. I know Cassandra will fix me on the facts, but the point being is we have the kind of resources that cities wouldn't have if they're just on their own. Plus, we get our station remodeled this year, and they're very innovative. So the idea of fast deployment vehicles, where in the past, if they had to respond to maybe someone having a medical incident, you got, I guess, 3 firefighters and an engine running out there, and which is kind of expensive. Plus, it's sometimes hard to get down to Walton Sherwood Road. So they're looking at more nimble ways to respond to some of those lower level, if that's the right word, incidents. As I say, they are community oriented. You sometimes got to watch who's holding the hose or who's driving the truck. Isn't that you?
It's both of you.
It's both of us. Oh.
Yeah.
So what is a city? What is city government? When you get right down to it, I talked about community and all the really important stuff. But really, why do you have a city government? For some basic infrastructure stuff. You got to have water. You got to have sewer. You got to have streets. You got to have those kinds of things. We take that for granted. But our city operation folks don't take it for granted. They have high standards. They have targets. They work to those goals. The numbers, kind of speak for themselves in terms of their percent achievement. But customer service is critical to these folks. Plus, they're ambassadors for the city government out in your neighborhoods. you're probably going to see somebody unplugging a sewer or a storm sewer more frequently than you're going to see somebody busting down the front door of your house with a gun drawn or a fire truck coming. Those are the people that you interface with, and they're proud of that. We took a little heat in January last year. Would have preferred the heat come sooner. About not being able to respond to a 50-year snowfall. So guess what, folks? We got the biggest snow plow money can buy. And we're ready for let it snow. In Washington, D.C., I got a call from Washington, D.C. mayor saying, would you send that thing out here when he was buried? And I'm just kidding. But we had I don't know, Dan can help me, like a 50-year-old dump truck that, like they pump up the tires and prime the carburetor to get the thing started. So we needed one anyway, putting it off. So we went out, got a new dump truck, and had it fitted for snow removal capacity. And it's quite a machine. If you haven't seen it, it's probably worth a ride in the Crawfish Festival parade. We've been talking about city beautification for several state of the cities now, focused primarily on reverse frontages in the neighborhoods. And those successes we've had on Boones Ferry and Avery and Saginaw and those areas. Well, so now we're moving out to the freeway areas so that when people come to Tualatin, we talk about it being a special place. Well, let's show that it's a special place from the point of entry. So we've been doing the landscape projects out there. If you've seen those, I will tell you, those are not inexpensive. They are very long-term. Interestingly, they've come in at about 60% of budget or maybe 50% of budget. So they've been very efficient. We've contracted that work out, but Dan Boss and his crew have been on top of making sure it's done right, done effectively. So a couple slides about that. 40% of their budget. Okay, I got the numbers. Pavement management, you can go to a lot of places, and certainly not in Forest Grove, but you can go to other cities around and you go further away and you can see some pretty ratty streets. And in Tualatin, that's just not acceptable, other than Herman Road, which we finally got rid of the horse and wagons and we're fixing it. In a rating system, we keep our streets at 95. You pay a street utility fee to do that. Okay, so nothing's free, but it's a priority that our citizens established years ago, and it's something that we take very seriously. And in fact, to the degree that our quality control uncovers some deficiencies, sometimes that other jurisdictions are getting in some of their materials that they don't even know about. And so, again, these are proud folks. Hey, here's one for you. Sewer standards. Now, this is not a joke. I mean, this is important stuff. Zero sewer backup, that's their goal. I think that's an admirable goal myself. And in fact, that it hasn't occurred is even better. It's 5 years ago, there was I think a pump that froze or something over on the east side of town. But again, you set standards and we do the kind of routine maintenance. We go down there with television cameras and videotape, the sewers and inspect them. And it's just, the kind of quality that you would have no idea really happens, and you only appreciate it when it's not there. Water, the good news on water is that in Tualatin we've actually reduced our water consumption over the last 2 or 3 years, even though population has gone up. There will still be a long-term water need in this region. There are things going on over in Pete's area with respect to Scoggins Dam and raising that, and there's work that will potentially be going on in Bull Run for filtration. There's continuing study of the Willamette. But water will always be a long-term issue. But for now, we're in pretty good shape, and the trends are in our favor. Healthy Stream Program is maintaining quality in our surface water and in our rivers. And CWS, which is our Clean Water Services, which is York County sewer and wastewater and surface water treatment organization, and some great scientists and environmentalists, again under the direction of the board, County Board of Commissioners, looked at various options. You can spend bazillions of dollars to manage temperature in the river, or you can plant trees. Well, hello. And it was actually CWS that sounds so obvious, but CWS has sort of pioneered that technology. So we're part of that. And in Tualatin, we've got a goal to plant over 10,000 trees a year. We have exceeded that goal every year. Talk a little bit about community enhancement. I'm starting to run out of time, so I'm going to breeze through this pretty quickly. We're always looking to improve our parks where we have opportunities. We had an opportunity to buy some land, actually with some Metro money. That's along Juergens Park there, just to the west of it, increasing our river frontage and working to continually to work away at our trail plan of having trail all along the river frontage from border to border. Many of the events that the city sponsors are the kinds of things that really contribute to quality of life. But most of those are maybe city sponsored, but they're volunteer run, they're volunteer or they're corporately sponsored financially. The concerts in the Commons, 4,000 people, the movies on the Commons. Art Splash, 2,000 attendees, and the artists actually made some money. There were like $20,000 in sales. Starry Starry Nights, which is done right over here, and Holiday Lights, just a tremendous event. Again, 1,000 people show up for that. Summer reading, we have thousands of people that participate in our summer reading program, teens and adults. Look at the adult number down there. So it's some people with some time on their hands. Maybe they can volunteer. Team Tualatin is where kids spend a solid week during the summer doing work for their community. Most of it's pretty hard labor. We celebrate our youth in Tualatin. We have a scholarship that we give. We have a youth advisory council that participates in a lot of activities. And the idea, obviously, get youth involved in your community at an early age, get them doing something other than simply going to school. And those folks become adults, and that builds community. So we don't have a tremendous rec program in terms of dollars and commitment. Remember that $2.26 tax rate? But we do a lot with what we have, and we engage a lot of kids, 10,000 contact hours. Monique Beichman and others in the community and parents and in Tualatin Tigard School District, Tualatin Tigard School District. Look at that. The second annual Walk and Bike to School Day, but this year it was a huge success. You're planning a spring one. The idea is to get kids walking to school, but get parents out there walking to school with their kids, or at least meeting their neighbors. You know, a lot of parents are driving their kids to school and they spend all this time in line to drop their kids off at school. Why not walk with their kids and their neighbors? Library, you know, I don't know what to say about the library. This thing is just crazy. You can't stop this. We've got, in 2 years, we've gone 50% increase in checkouts. We doubled our visits. We have 1,000, we have the population of Tualatin walks through the library every year. The entire 1,000 people a day walk through that library. A very important vote coming up in May for the Clackamas side of our community is to vote to be in the Clackamas Library District so that they have the same services that the Washington County residents have in terms of accessing all the other libraries. Did I mention volunteerism, community spirit? I'm going to have to run through these really quick. You're going to have to read faster than I can talk. I think you can do that. But look at the hours, 10,000 hours of service just in the Tualatin Library. Teen volunteering up 150%. Young people getting out, being part of their community. 700 people planting trees. The Juanita Pool Center, we used to call it the Senior Center. Well, first of all, 70 is the new 50, and I'm looking forward to that. But the activity level spans a larger age range, and the Senior Center is no longer the quilting place. And the activities that those folks do in there from morning till night, whether it's taekwondo, whether it's dance lessons, whether it's yoga, all kinds of things offered to all ages, largely done by volunteers. Those guys are incredible. Similarly, the Heritage Center, the Historical Society with some 300 members, basically runs this Heritage Center, which has like 6,000 participants. And again, just a tremendous public-private partnership. They're in their 5th year. You know, if something's going to fail, it's going to fail in the first year or 2 or 3. If it makes it 5, it's there. VFW, the new VFW hall, the Matt Lemke Hall, what a tremendous effort by our veterans to recognize those in service. The governor comes to Tualatin to sign Valentine cards. We have a library foundation who's raising money to fund activities in the library. Oregon's 150th birthday, we had people spend that day out planting trees. You don't think about reserves officers, those guys are volunteers. Everywhere those ladies and men go to the same academy that the sworn folks go to, but they volunteer their time to be police. Martin Luther King Day on, we had like 300 people participating. Corporate volunteerism, you just see all the sponsorships in this community, and it's fascinating what our corporate people do. Our young folks attend a national conference every year. We did some budget cuts, and so what? Comcast, Allied, Waste, PG, Verizon stepped up and said, we'll help get those kids there because it's important. I mentioned Concert in the Commons, but those are sponsored by businesses. The Chamber of Commerce, they're the lead dog in this community as far as I'm concerned in getting things done. Their advocacy for good government, their advocacy for good business, their advocacy for good community. The events, we talk about the Crawfish Festival as being Tualatin's signature event. That's produced by the Crawfish Festival. I get to hold the mic, but those guys get to do all the work. Fit City Challenge, that's an adjunct from the Chamber of Commerce is saying, you know, health and fitness is important in this community. It's important in the corporate arena. It's important in the community, in the neighborhoods, in the schools. They've branched out into the